This is Start, Grow, Manage, where we help managed service providers achieve the impact, freedom, and wealth you imagined back when you started your company. At Start, Grow, Manage, our tools, practices, and processes help you engage, energize, and execute on building a business that empowers an extraordinary life. Learn more about our programs and how they can fuel your fire at startgrowmanage.com/learn more. Let's go.
All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to Start, Grow, Manage, where we help MSPs get out of the technical trenches and build a real scalable business. And I am thrilled today to be joined by Net3. So we've got Devin, Stevens, and Andreas Ambiehl. Did I do it right?
Yes, sir.
Who
right on.
are going to chat a bit about Net3. We're going to talk a little bit about cybersecurity. We're going to talk a little bit about what they do and kind of an interesting story. So right now they are a nationwide cloud provider and they're offering these solutions for data recovery and backup and infrastructure as a service. And I know one of the things that Joe and I looked at last year, we actually did a project for a large for an insurance company, and one of the issues that the MSP was having was, how do we make sure that we have the right data backup? How do we make sure that we have the right infrastructure? And so this sounds like would have been a great thing to know about a year ago. But lovely to have you here. They are sponsors of our training day coming up in just 2 weeks. We hope all of you can come join us. There is a live and in person. We're going to have lunch. We'll have drinks. We'll have a great time. Lots of training. We have CISA coming to talk about tools, and we have our great sponsors. We have training from Robert Gillette and Adam Walter. So it's going to be a great day. We will have recordings available afterwards. There's just a restriction on what we can do live because of CISA, but we will have recordings afterwards. So if you can't make it, do sign up and we'll get you all the stuff on the day after. Well, it might be 2 days because we have to get it approved, but soon after. So good. So go sign up, and then Andreas and
Devin. That's all right.
I was going to say Steven. I know it's not Steven. That's the last name, but I got very confused because my brain just doesn't always work. So Andreas and Devin, wonderful to have you here. Why don't you guys just give us a little bit of your history and what you're currently doing?
Thanks, Jeff. I was going to say, if you remembered my name, I thought Devin's name was a little bit easier, but
well, it's not that I can't pronounce it. It's just that I don't know. As you get older,
it's the two first names. That's what's throwing you off.
That's what gets you.
I'm easily confused by these.
No, but excited to be here. My name's Andreas Ambiehl. I'm a channel manager at Net3 Technology. Moved into this role towards the latter part of 2024 and kind of ramped things up in 2025. Started kind of as just outside sales rep and did a little bit of end user sales, and then kind of moved into this channel role and are starting to grow that. And that's kind of where things stand today. Devin?
Yeah. So I've been with this company for almost 15 years. I started out way down in the trenches in the MSP world and then kind of came up. Now I lead our sales engineering department over here. So solutions architecting and making sure everybody's kind of what you were talking about with your insurance company, making sure that those solutions are providing exactly what needs to be done.
So. Well, and I think it's actually really interesting. You developed Net3 out of an MSP, right? So you were an MSP and you were solving a problem for your MSP, and that eventually became Net3. So just tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. So when we started the company, when Hudson and DJ and they started the company way back in the day, it kind of started out as a traditional MSP. We were doing PC work. We were on-site techs and, kind of rolling trucks all the time. And we kind of saw for our own customers, we saw a need that, hey, look, yeah, we've got these techs going on site. We've got this stuff happening, but, they need, some sort of, infrastructure that we have to provide, all the networking. We have to provide all of the hypervisors that we're putting in, our physical servers. And we kind of said, hey, look, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to provide an infrastructure that we can kind of manage. They don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. And then we just have everything virtual. So we came in and we developed our infrastructure as a service data centers, or PVDC. And those virtual data centers kind of took off. And so what we realized as we were putting all this infrastructure in is, all right, well, now we have to do disaster recovery. Now we have to back up. Now we have to be able to provide security around these workloads that we're bringing in. And so we started developing vendor relationships that made sense for our customers and started bringing that into our portfolio to them. That grew and it was successful. And eventually we decided that we really liked doing that stuff and we didn't like doing the MSP stuff so much. So
It's whether you like it or not. I do think that when you come out of industry, you end up developing a solution.
right.
Like you know what the pain is, what the MSP pain is. You know what it's like to deal with the MSP clients. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think that when you design a solution, you develop a solution that really works. That's actually really exciting, right? And and now you have a great niche because you can sell that out to the MSPs of the world. You know exactly whom you're selling to. You know exactly how. So I find that's actually pretty often, even if you love doing MSP work, there's something about, hey, now we have a unique solution that we can sell. And there's a lot of excitement behind that, right?
Yeah.
So you guys, you have that solution, it's there. And then you just said, all right, we're going to focus on this.
Yeah. So we decided that, hey, look, we think we can bring this to, nationwide and kind of take off. So opened, a couple more data centers and started pushing for that nationwide presence. And that's brought us to kind of where we are today. So the MSP work, stuff like that, we still have some managed services that we focus on around, backup and disaster recovery, the stuff that MSPs don't like to do, right? I mean, that's one of the hardest things in your world as an MSP is you have to manage all these backups for, 100 customers and you have to stay on top of it. And it's the most boring thing in the world, but you got to do it. And that's something that we can bring to the table is help.
It's funny. We kind of say that in Start, Grow, Manage, I'm the business guy, right? And Joe is the tech guy. So he comes out of building MSPs and I come out of building businesses. And so we bring those two things together to create a Start, Grow, Manage. But however, I was in the technical space in the 90s. And, back when you actually had to configure network cards and there was this thing called Token Ring and we implemented NT4 for Daimler-Benz in Berlin. And I remember at the time that backups were a pain in the neck, that we hated doing them, that they were always problematic. And it is mind-blowing that really hasn't changed. I guess unless you have somebody who, I guess you have changed, you figured it out, but it is a boring thing to do unless you have a automated way to make it work, right?
Yeah. And we do have a lot of automation built in, but it still comes down to people who are diligent and having to do that grind on the backup and disaster recovery side. Because it is, in the end, it's your insurance. It's the most important thing that you do as an MSP. You're protecting that data. So
there is something. The worst experience of the world is when you show up and you have to tell your client that you lost data. That is a dark moment in anybody's life. So how do you frame? So we talk to a lot of MSPs. We work with MSPs. We've got MSPs coming on the 27th. So how do you frame up for them the problem that you solve for them in words that they can really get and latch on to?
Andrew, you want to throw that?
Yeah, I'll take that. So Jeff, kind of where we see a giant problem and where we kind of come to market and trying to solve is kind of relating back to that time, whether that be managing backups, managing disaster recovery, monitoring, seeing if you have successful restore points, kind of utilizing Net3 and our tech stack to make sure that those are getting done, giving you back a little bit of time in the day to focus on maybe whether that be growing your business, managing certain customers, but taking some weight off of your shoulder and us kind of burdening that so you can kind of flourish going forward.
Yeah, we can do that on any infrastructure, but one of the key pieces is that we provide a rock solid infrastructure as a service, program, right? So that's important because if it never goes down and you don't lose the data, you don't have to restore the data. So that's the other piece of that.
So how does that work from the MSP standpoint? They're just using you as their cloud provider, and what additional services are you providing around that?
Yeah, so as far as we all know today that some customers might be hybrid, where they have some stuff on-prem, some stuff in the cloud. You might be managing some stuff in Azure, public cloud, and then using another private cloud provider. And kind of the consolidation piece into maybe one cloud kind of goes back to that time where you're just going to be more efficient. And I do understand that some people will have to remain on premise. Some people, that it might not be for everyone, but kind of establishing this partnership where you can go to Net3 for any and everything. And we do know that MSPs, when you're talking to your client, you do have to have an answer for just about everything.
You're the expert.
And you're the product expert. So instead of, I guess, cherry picking from one solution to another, and then all of a sudden you're managing 25, 50, 100 clients across 20 different solutions. We like to say that we don't have the answer to everything, but we have the answer to a lot of things. So kind of leaning on us and leveraging us to kind of make you more efficient and help your client.
Yeah, and one of the things that we really advocate and that we've discovered is really important is just this idea of simplifying that back end. So it's having a product, a repeatable product for your clients. What happens over time, if you're simplifying the back end, is that your cost goes down and you can increase your revenue. And so it sounds to me like really the opportunity here is that working with you guys, you're simplifying that back end. You guys have some real expertise around the infrastructure, that infrastructure as a service, around cybersecurity, around protecting data. So a lot of that can be simplified out of the MSP space, and you're really working for them and making that as efficient and squeezing that cost down, right? So that they're not having to learn all of these things or figure all of these things out. And that keeps their cost under control, allows them to deliver a better service and really focus on what makes a difference to their clients, which is how you improve their business. So if you can get, as an MSP, out of worrying about the infrastructure and out of worrying about the backups and into worrying about how you're going to help your clients grow and manage their business and be more successful, you're going to have a better relationship and better way of working with them. And that sounds like that's really right along the lines of what you guys are doing.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, 100%.
You can use that if you want. Go ahead, record it, and then I'll just charge like it's like a $1,000 royalty every time you repeat it. Other than that, I really use no problem.
I think you really did nail it. So for us, it can start very simply, right, with an MSP. So if they have a problem, we don't have to solve all of your problems at one time, right? Most of our channel guys that come in and partner with us, they're looking at, hey, I need a backup solution that is managed, or I need a disaster recovery service that's just rock solid, right? And they start there because it's the easiest thing to sell into your customer. Hey, everybody needs backup. Everybody needs disaster recovery. It's a no-brainer to talk to the end customer and say, hey, look, this is why you need it, and this is what it does, and this is how we're going to manage it, and it sells itself, right? So they start there, and then once they have that in place, what we find is they start to kind of grow into that infrastructure as a service space, like where hey, the customer renewals come up now on their on-premise hardware. We need to pay this stupid Broadcom tax that's come out in the last 2 years. So they start looking at, okay, well, now we have all this disaster recovery in place. We can just fail the machines over to Net3, and all of a sudden they're on virtual infrastructure and they're running. And I would say that's how most of our infrastructure as a service organically grows with us in the channel side. Is they just
getting rid of the on-prem servers and doing one service with you, getting rid of the on-prem servers and moving to the cloud.
And now you're pure cloud. You don't have infrastructure to worry about. You don't have any of that. Yeah, you nailed it whenever you said just take that off the plate so you can focus on growing the customer.
You grow that customer relationship, bring down the cost, increase the price. I just keep saying it because people think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I'm really not, right? Drive down the cost while you increase the price. That's called adding margin. It's a beautiful place to be. So we were talking just beforehand about war stories. You said you've got a few client experiences and great things to tell us about things that have happened and problems you've solved. Anyone come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, just recent, we had Hurricane Helene. So we're based in Greenville, South Carolina, right? So right underneath Western North Carolina, they got hit by the hurricane so bad. That was just kind of a massive uptick in all of our. Usually when we're talking disaster recovery, we're talking ransomware, stuff like that. And then the hurricane comes and you're like, no, it's real disaster, right? So we've had quite a few failovers during that period of time. One of our favorite ones, Crown Labs, these guys came on with us and they started talking through, disaster recovery, what we're going to do. We got everything in place, I would say maybe a month before Hurricane Helene, and then everything hit.
My goodness, really?
Yeah, it was down to the wire. Everything hit, they failed over. They were able to be back up and running within an hour with us, and they were good to go. That's in contrast to some that we've, had a call from, and we're like, well, look, you decided not to do this with us, and we tried and tried, and we can't do disaster recovery after the fact.
Those are also conversations that suck, but yeah, that's right. I mean, if you don't prepare in advance, and that was what we were saying when Joe and I were doing our project, is really this, there's like this idea of I'm prepared. I've got a few templates out there. I've written down a couple of, documents, but without having that infrastructure in place, you're just not really prepared. You're not ready to go,
No.
And it is interesting what you said. We focus so much on this idea of ransomware and hacking, and, they're going to come get us. But more and more, natural disasters are going to be a bigger problem. So
they can be very small and localized as well. So, for instance, we had a customer one time that called us, and we were doing DR with them. We were doing the whole bit. They were an on-premise shop, and he called and he said, "Hey, look, we've sprung a leak in our data center." And they had a little small closet, right? I mean, it wasn't very big, but they had a sprinkler head that had leaked, and they were like, we need to fail everything over, but we think we have it under control. And this was kind of way back in the day when we were still rolling trucks back to on-premise. So we were like, okay, we'll get a technician on site, see what we can do about protecting the servers, so on and so forth. And they're like, well, we've got them taken care of, but yeah, go ahead and get a tech out here. So the tech goes on site, and all of a sudden we get a phone call from the tech. And he's like, man, I just walked in this server room and they have saran wrapped the entire rack. So they basically just took giant roll of plastic wrapped the whole rack up. Every server.
That's great for heat.
He cut the plastic wrap. He said, Devin, everything's melting. Like the servers are bent in the middle. They're just melting down from being stuck in that.
But wouldn't you also get, if it's humid, you're also going to get all kinds of condensation.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad. So we ended up with that customer. We just failed them over, and they never came back to on-prem. They just
fine. Please don't ever let us go through this ever again.
Exactly. Yep.
Funny. My son is actually working on cooling systems for data centers, and he's new to business. And he had to buy some valves, like he's putting together a little piece for a manifold, and like the parts are like $10,000, like it was like $10,000 to put together this thing. And wow, these are expensive. And I said, well, yeah, but there's a reason for that. And he said, yeah, because water and data centers do not mix.
They do not mix.
You do not want water. And when you've got these water coolant systems going through there, I know this was a leak from somewhere else, but it just does. Funny how he was like, yeah, we got to keep water out of these data centers, even as we're using water to cool them down, right? So,
imagine the precision machining that goes into that's going to push those parts up. I wish this customer had something like that for sure.
Well, but you guys have it at your data center, and I think that's the point, right? So if you're running these things in your closet, you got a server in your closet, there's no way that you're going to have the level of control over the environment that you have in a data center. And I think everybody knows that, but I think sometimes customers don't realize that, it's so vulnerable having these machines on-prem. I
mean, the cost of bringing in a fully redundant environment, right? I mean, you've got to have fully redundant network hardware, fully redundant servers, fully redundant everything. You've got to have blended circuits. You've got to have all this stuff. That's stuff that we build out by default. But for an end customer that's running 4 servers on-prem, that's prohibitively expensive to do that for them. So it's something that it resonates when you need it, but not when you're looking at the price tag.
Yeah, that's right. When you, wait.
Yeah.
Once you've experienced it, it's hard to go back. So
Yep.
cool. So we've got our thing coming up on February 27th. What are you hoping that people get out of this? Right, we're going to talk cybersecurity, and we're going to talk about marketing cybersecurity. But what's your angle? What do you think that MSPs really need to take away?
I would say coming up February 27th, our kind of focus is kind of, I guess the status quo today is not simple, kind of how you put it, Jeff, in terms of you have to have an answer for everything, whether that be infrastructure, backup, disaster recovery, and you might be using 10, 15 products now. Kind of consolidating that, becoming more efficient, getting a little bit more predictable pricing. So using a vendor that can kind of handle any and everything. So save you some time, get you a little bit more predictable pricing, increase your margins, and kind of focus on growth. We want to make our partners' lives a little bit easier, leverage us for anything cloud, use our expertise. We've been there, we've architected, Devin would have a count, but I could thousands of different environments and really lean on us to pass the value to your client. We want to be your backboard for everything. If they ask you a question and you're a little unsure, I'd love to get a call and be like, look, this is how we can help you out, how we can move this forward, and just give you some time back, put a little money in your pocket, and just be a little bit happier at the end of the day. That's really our pitch and what we want to kind of drive home on February 7th.
Sounds good. What about specifically to cybersecurity? I mean, I know you guys do a lot with cybersecurity, protecting data, making sure that it's protected from disasters, but you do have a pretty substantial expertise just in the cybersecurity front, right?
Yeah, Devin, do you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've gone through pretty much in our time at Net3, we've gone through pretty much every antivirus issue, ransomware issue that could be out there, and done it with multiple products. I mean, as an MSP in that space, you bounce around because you're always trying to look for the thing that's going to catch everything, that's going to do everything. And what we kind of learned, we found, best in class cybersecurity as far as the technology behind it, that was easy to deploy, that we could keep deployed, because if you don't have it on one single endpoint, then you're vulnerable, you're done. And we learned throughout that time that managing that and making sure everything is good to go, and it's better left up to people who, and not just people, but also machine intelligence and AI that can react faster than us, that can do all that.
Yeah.
So when we started developing our cybersecurity side, we started bringing in things that could value add to our engineers, that could keep them from having to wake up, that's automated as much as possible so that it can react quickly, that it can really get in there and help us to manage that customer endpoint. And then started pushing that into the channel, and it's worked out well. And one of the beauties of it is we can manage, or you can manage. We don't discriminate. If you want to use a SOC that has access to this stuff and is able to use it, you can do it. If you want us to do it, we'll do it. So it kind of gives you a little bit of flexibility as an MSP.
Awesome. No, I love that. And I do think, like I said, that the key for MSPs is really to bring that simplicity, bring those expertise where you can to your stack, to your delivery,
right?
So that you can get out of the technical or into technical that is more client facing,
higher level. Yeah, higher level.
Yeah.
You want to be, as an MSP, you want to be out there doing projects. You want to be doing stuff to build the customer, and not stuck in the trenches every day fighting fires.
And solving problems for how are they going to grow? Where are their business bottlenecks, and how can you apply technology? We had one client who started interviewing their clients, and they were working with manufacturers, and they realized that there was a quality control issue, and so they were able to bring in cameras and develop a solution, bring in third-party solutions to provide that quality control issue, get the MRR from that, right? But you can't do that if you are always focused on making sure that the infrastructure works and that the back end works, and fixing saran wrapped servers in a wet
You want to do the cool
closet.
stuff, right? Yeah, exactly.
The real bug, right? It reminds me of like where the word bug comes from is, that they actually, back in the day when they had all those cables, and they actually discovered moths in the cables themselves, messing with the cables, right? But imagine if instead of bugs, they just had plastic wrap. We'd all be going around looking for bits of plastic wrap rather than bugs. So
it wasn't bits, it was giant sheets of plastic wrap. It was really easy.
Just wrapped around cables. Yeah, but the whole language would be different, right? It would be like, hey, have you saran wrapped your, program, exactly. Or send us a saran, feedback. We're saranning our software. So
exactly.
Anyway, so
pulling that into our pitches as well.
Yeah, I think you should. Yeah. So again, it's actually royalty free. I'm not charging too much for this. No, but I think that's great, and I think that really ties into this idea of creating that simplified MSP space. So how do MSPs get started with you? Where's the best place to go? I know we have the link. We had it up there with the channel partner program. So tell us a little bit about this program, about where you're going, about what you want to do for and with MSPs, and where those MR opportunities are.
Yeah, so I would say kind of getting in touch with us. You can follow that link. There'll be a landing page where put in your information. We'll set up a call. I think that's where the rubber hits the road and where we kind of get a good idea of how that partnership's going to grow moving forward. Ask a lot of questions, see what you're trying to solve, and where we can step in and help you, I guess, get that accomplished.
Yeah.
Not everyone is a perfect fit, and we might not be able to solve every problem, but I would say that initial discovery call gives us a good base to grow off of. Myself, Devin, will jump on a call with you and kind of show you what we do, how we do it, give you a demo of kind of our portal, our cloud infrastructure, and kind of build the roadmap for how we can get in there and help you simplify things, take some weight off your shoulders, different options and ways to get creative to where we can make that work.
I mean, we never try to force something down your throat, right? So with our SEs, the SEs are basically tasked with providing a custom solution for every MSP and every MSP's end customer.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't fit, we're not going to suggest it. Having had stuff just thrown at me just throughout my entire career.
Bye, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, well, and a discovery call done right can be very educational. So I think that's one of the advantages of just having a conversation with you and understanding where the opportunities are and how the MSP could fit into that mold. I think there's just a lot to learn whether the product is a fit or not. So yeah, so check out the channel program, and then the other thing you can do is you can come visit Andreas and Devin. See, I did it right that time. At the MSP Training Day on February 27th, they will be there live and in person, and you can grill them yourself. And we look forward to seeing you guys there, and we look forward to seeing everybody else there. And yeah, this has been good. Thanks, guys, for letting us know what you do and why and where you come from. Any parting words from you?
No, I appreciate you having us on. I know we're really excited to get up to New York the 27th, meeting people face to face. I know we're doing kind of an after hours party afterwards, and we'll have some kind of planning and more information at the event. But really appreciate your time today, and excited for opportunity to come up there in February, end of February.
Likewise. I mean, it's also just great to build these relationships. There's so many things that we can do to make MSP lives easier. So go register, and we'll see you on the 27th, and have an amazing afternoon, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.